Channel. My name is Tessie, and today we're going to be recreating this style. A lot of my subscribers requested for it, and I decided to make it. If you're new to the channel, you're welcome. If you're yet to subscribe, kindly do that, and let's get right into the video. So guys, I have my lines. If you're following this channel, you should know how I got these lines, as you can see. So from the starting point, I have my shoulder, then I came down to the chest line, waist, hip, and my gown length. So for the gown length, I'm making use of 36 inches. So you have to determine how long you want the dress to be. So I'm making use of 36 inches. So from this point, I came down to 3 inches. Then I came down to 1 inch for my shoulder slope and curved my armhole. So what I'll be doing is placing my bust measurement divided by 4 and adding 2 inches for sewing allowance, my waist measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches for my sewing allowance, my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches for my sewing allowance. Then whatever I have at the hip line, I'll bring it down at the gown length. So what I'll do next is to connect my dots together. So what I'll be doing next is to work on the neckline. So you determine how deep you want the neckline to be. So from the shoulder, I came down to 6 inches. Then I connected it into a straight line. And from that point, I'll be coming in at that center front by 4 inches. So now it depends on how wide you want the neckline to be. So I'm making use of 4 inches for mine. Then what I'll do is from the neck of the shoulder, I'll connect it to that line. So now what you need to do is determine how deep you want your sweetheart neckline to be. So from the neckline, I came down to 2 inches. You can come down to 3, depending on how deep you want it to be. Then from this point, I'm just going to give it a sweetheart effect. So we're good to go with the neckline. So what we're doing next is to work on the Basque effect. So for the Basque effect, from the waist, I'll come down to 3 inches. So from my waistline, I came down to 3 inches, and then on the hip line I came down to 3 inches as well. So what I'll do is to connect from the waistline to the hip line. As you know, I came down to 3 inches for the hip line. You can choose to stop at the hip line. You don't need to come down to 3 inches. It's just how I want it to be. Then for this part, I'm just going to be slashing and spreading. As you can see, I'll label my lines and I'll be cutting out this part for this slashing and spreading. So guys, this is what the front pattern looks like. So I'm going to be cutting my fabric on fold. Make sure you note that. Guys, we're good to go with the front pattern. We'll be cutting out the back. So for the back, I've sketched out my lines. I have my 2 inches for my zip allowance all the way down. Then I came down to the shoulder divided by 2. Then my chest line, my waistline, my hip line, and then my gown length. So for the neck, I'm using 3 inches. I came down to my shoulder slope by 1 inch, connected my shoulder, and then curve out my back armhole. So what I'll be doing is placing my measurement, my bust divided by 4 plus 2 inches, my waist divided by 4 plus 2 inches sewing allowance, my hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches sewing allowance. So whatever I have at the hip, I'm just going to bring it down to the gown length. So I'll go ahead now to connect my dots. So guys, after doing that, you have to determine how deep you want the neckline to be. So for me, I'm just going to be making use of 1 inches. So from the starting point, I chalk 1 inches, and then I'm going to be using my curve ruler to curve my neckline. So guys, what we'll do next is to determine how deep we want the back to be. So you can see it on the screen that the back is really deep. So from the shoulder, I'm just going to come down to 12 inches. That's how deep I want mine to be. You can use 11, 12, 13. It all depends on your preference. So I'm just going to connect that 12 inches line. Then now at the neckline, we're going to be adding buttons to this. So you need to chalk how deep you want the back neckline to be. So for me, I'm just going to be making use of 2 inches. So after checking my 2 inches line, what I'll be doing next is just curving the back neckline. So it depends on how wide you want this area to be as well. So I'm just going to use my pen to like sketch it out. So guys, you can use a pencil to sketch it out first. In case you don't like the shape, you can clean it and resketch I don't have a pencil at the moment, so I'm just using my pen to sketch it out. So after sketching, this is what it looks like, as you can see. So now I have my opened back this way. Now for the down part, you can also bring it down a bit, curve it down, depend on how you want it to be. For me, I'm just going to be making use of mine this way. I'm not going to be using this line. I'm just going to use my marker to chalk out the lines that I will be taking off. So this is what it looks like. So I'm going to be making use of this part. So guys, after doing that, our button is going to be on this side of the fabric. So we don't need the zip allowance for the yoke area. So I'm just going to connect this line. This is where the zip will start from. Hope you understand. So now I'm going to be taking this part off. So guys, what we'll be doing next is working on the bass effect, just the way we did in the front pattern. At the waist I came down by 3, at the hip I came down by 3. I'll do the same thing for the back. So on the waistline I'll be coming down by 3 inches. So from the waist I came down by 3, and on the hip line I came down by 3 as well. So I'm going to be connecting the 3 inches line together. So this will be my zip area. So I'll go ahead now to rule out my lines for this slash and spread for the back, and then label them. So this part will be my zip allowance. So guys, now to eliminate zipper bulge at the waistline, I'll be coming in by 0.75. What I'll do next is to slant all the way up and slant all the way down. So guys, just bear with me, my slanting wasn't that good, but just slant all the way up and then you slant all the way down. So we are good to go with the back pattern. So guys, we're good to go with the pattern drafting of this tutorial. I was very indecisive if I should make the dress or not, because this dress I'm really not going to wear it. So I just decided to use the pieces that I have in the store to make one for you guys. So guys, what we'll be doing next is slashing and spreading. So I have my pattern paper, a fresh pattern paper, which I chalked the middle line, as you can see. So quickly I'm just going to cut out the lines. So I'll cut out my lines. So guys, after cutting out my patterns, what I'll be doing is chalking 4 inches apart. So I chalked 4 inches apart. So the reason why I'm using 4 inches apart is because I have little fabric left in the store. So you can choose to chalk 6 inches apart. It depends on how full you want your gathers to be. So for this, the gathers is not really that full. So I will advise you chalk 6 to 7 inches apart. So what I'll do is place my patterns on that 4 inches line. So I placed number 1, use my paper tape to hold it. So I did the same thing for all the other patterns, as you can see. Then after doing that, I'm just going to sketch out what I have. So I'll sketch out the exact thing I have here. When cutting out the fabric, I'll be adding sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead now to cut out my pattern. Guys, please do not forget to add half inches all around. I'll be doing that on my fabric when cutting. So guys, I'm going to be using this Ankara print. I've gone ahead to cut out my fabric, leaving half inch all around for sewing allowance. At the back as well, please leave half inch for sewing allowance. So this is what it looks like. So I've gone ahead to cut out my lining piece as well. So because this is a tutorial that I'm making for you guys, I'm not going to be adding paper stay to it. I'm just going to be using the lining and the fabric this way. So what I'll do is go and stitch the neckline, then close the armhole and the side, then flip it to the right side. Then for the back as well, I'm going to place my lining piece on the back. Do not forget that we'll be adding button at the neckline. So what I did was to make my loop, as you can see. So what I'll do is cut 2 inches. So you have to determine how many buttons you are adding. So for me, I'm just going to be adding only 2 buttons. So after cutting my 2 inches loop, I'm just going to fold it into two this way and place it on one side of the back. So go ahead, place it in this way, then you place the other one as well. So after placing, I'm going to be stitching the neckline, stitching the armhole, and then stitching the back area. So I'll do the same thing for the other side as well. Then at this other side, I'm going to be attaching my buttons at this side of the back. So guys, my fabric was not enough for the gathers stitch. So I'm just going to be making use of this fabric for the gathers. Hope you understand. So I'm just going to fold my fabric into two, then place the slash and spread pattern on it. So please fold into two. We are cutting for the front. So I'll fold it into two. So guys, I'll be adding half inch at the down part for folding allowance and also half inch at the top part for joining allowance. So I'll go ahead now to cut out the front. So guys, after cutting out the front, I don't want to cut the back, like slashing and spreading the back. So what I'll do is just use the front pattern, but I'll be adding extra 2 inches for my zip allowance. So I don't want to waste my pattern by cutting out the back for the slash and spread. Hope you understand. So I'm just going to use the front, place it this way, and also add 2 inches for my zip allowance. So I'll go ahead now to chalk 2 inches for my zip allowance and chalk it all the way down. Then I'll use this same front pattern to cut the back. So also leave half inch for folding allowance at the down part and also half inch for joining allowance at the top part. So it's very simple. So I'm using my front pattern to cut out the back, but I added 2 inches for my zip allowance. So guys, this is what the back looks like as you can see. So the back, I just notch my zip line. So this is it for the back. So for the front, I've gone ahead to join my lining to the pattern. This is what it looks like. So what we'll be doing next is joining the gathers around the bust area. So for the front, I'm just going to fold it into two, notch the middle line of my front for the gathers, and then start pleating. So I'm going to pleat all the way to the end of the front and also do the same thing for this process as well. So I'll go ahead now to pleat and then stop here. So for the back as well, I'm just going to place one side of the fabric on the back. So I'm not going to be pleating the zip allowance area. So I'll pleat this other side all the way down here. And I'll repeat same process at the other part. Place the fabric right side facing each other. Then leave your zip allowance area at that point. Just stitch and then start pleating. So you pleat all the way down to this point. So guys, after pleating, this is what it looks like. Like I said, this is just a tutorial I'm making for you guys. That's why my pleating is not full. I don't have enough fabric at home. So this is what the back looks like as you can see. So guys, what I'll be doing next is placing the back together, right side facing each other. Then I'll close my zip allowance line for now. After doing that, I've gone ahead to cut out my belt. So go ahead, cut out your belt, and then from the shoulder, you come down to your waistline, which I chalked there. So I'm just going to place my belt on the front. So I'll place it this way. So you can place it and then pin it down. Then you repeat same process for this part as well. So after doing that, I'll place the front and the back together, pin them together. Then after doing all of that, close the shoulder by half inch, shape your dress, add your zip, and then I'll show us the end result. So guys, this is the end result. The beauty of this dress is on the back area. Hope this tutorial was helpful for those that requested for this style. Please do not forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, drop a comment. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Sowites. Guys, please, I need you all to like this video. God bless you. Bye.